It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Lindenwood head women's basketball coach, Coach Amy Eagan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you. Trying to stay warm on this blistering cold day, but doing really well.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college women's basketball?
Yeah, well, it's kind of crazy because I played college basketball, and in all honesty, while I was playing, I never really thought about being a college coach. I thought I was going to be a high school teacher and a high school coach. And then I had the opportunity upon graduation. Somebody said, "Hey, Quincy University needs an assistant coach. Why don't you apply?" And at first I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever." But I ended up then going on an interview there. And when I walked off campus, I was like, if I blew that, I'm going to be so mad at myself because I just fell in love with it. And been doing it since and really have enjoyed it. And love the everyday process of coaching and what we can do and the impacts that we can on lives that we can make.
What was your college playing time like going to Truman State?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I picked Truman State for really two reasons. Number one, it was really, really close to my family. I was only 50 minutes from my hometown. So that was important to me. I got to look up in the stands every day and see family there and supporters from my high school days, from Chilbina and in the stands. That just made a huge difference. And then the second reason I picked Truman is just because of the phenomenal education that they offered, being as they call the Harvard of the Midwest. I knew I was going to leave there with a great degree that could lead me into some great opportunities if I so chose to do that. So it was really great. I picked the right school. I don't know if every kid can say that. There's no way I would have went into the portal. I had a great experience both on and off the floor and formed some really good relationships that are lifelong.
What was that like getting to represent them and putting on that jersey for them?
I mean, it's pride. We talk about that even here, at Lindenwood, wearing that name across your chest. It's a lot of pride in being a part of a school and representing that school on a day-to-day basis on and off the floor. And, sometimes I think we forget that in the world we live in. But I think we should have a lot of pride in being able to do those things.
As a player in college, what were some of your biggest accomplishments?
Yeah, I mean, I was an All-American. I had a great playing career, and I will always say I had a great playing career because I was surrounded by great people. I had some big time talent around me that helped me, look good. And if you don't have that talent, you're not able to shine as much. But I was very, very lucky that I had some great talent around me. I had great coaches that pushed me every day to be great. My freshman year, we won 9 games. And then by the time I was a senior, we went to the Sweet 16. And we just had a phenomenal year my senior year. So we really built the program. And I had a good career again because I was surrounded by some really good people.
Coming out of college, what was that experience like playing professionally overseas and
Yeah,
into Norway?
completely different than college, and I've had the opportunity to have some kids when I was at a head coach at Division II that went overseas and played. And the first thing I tell them is, listen, like over here where, it's like your family and like your teammates are with you all the time. It's not like that over there. It's a lot of a business. You go over, you play, you work out, you get your workout in that you need to do, you play. But it's not as much as that team family atmosphere that you get in the States. And so it's just got a little bit different feel. And for me it was about really first time being away from home, a distance away from home for sure. and being able to go over there and really grow. And I think I grew a lot just being far away. Um, at that time too, which I don't want to date myself ever, but I am, and I don't know, right now what it's like, but, it was pretty cool when, you'd walk out of games and you'd be, cause they only allow 2 Americans on a team, and you walk out a game and there'd be a line of kids that want your autograph and, those kind of things with it. So it was a really, really neat experience, and something I'm so glad that I chose to do, and so thankful that I had an opportunity to do.
After your playing time, what was it like getting into coaching and coming to St. Ambrose?
Yeah, I mean, it was good. So I was 4 years as an assistant at Quincy University, where we went to Sweet 16 twice. We went to Elite Eight once, we went back-to-back conference championships. So we had a lot of success there as I was an assistant. And, the head coach was pretty much like, listen, it's time for you. You can go, you can go take your first head job. And, I will never forget sitting there on that first day after I got the job, sitting in the office and going, do I even really know what I'm doing? Because it's so different going from an assistant to a head coach. But, you figure it out, the day-to-day operations and what needs to be done and timelines and that. And then it kind of becomes a habit year after year with when you have to get things done. So it was definitely exciting. It was exciting. But it was also nerve-wracking. And, being a head coach, I know a lot of assistants are like, man, I wish I was the head coach, or, I wish I could do that. It's a different level. I mean, you realize that when you become a head coach, the stress levels a lot more. The amount that you think about the team in basketball is a lot more. It's just a different level.
What was that feeling like when you first became a head coach?
It felt good. I mean, I had great kids, and we had a good year that year, my first year, but it is a learning process. I mean, it's learning who you are and growing into who you want to become as a coach. For me, I would even tell you, like, every year, I'm trying to, like, continue to grow as a coach. And I think you've got a lot to figure out when you're a first year head coach of what you want to do in regards to your expectations and who you want to be. And so there's a lot of figuring out. There's a lot of fun times with it, but also a lot of nerves with it.
After having a few years as head coach, what was that like going back to your alma mater to become a head coach?
It was awesome. It was awesome. Um, I mean, it was home, I'd walk in there and, it'd be the same faces running the scoring table as when I played. It'd be the same faces in the administrative office as I played, same professors, in a lot of areas. So it was definitely like home, and it makes you feel comfortable immediately with stuff. And again, a lot of pride in being able to represent something in a school that gave you so much.
What was that feeling like when you stepped onto that field as a head coach at your alma mater?
Um, yeah, I mean, it was exciting. I remember, our first game in that, and having again, when I was in Iowa, I wasn't able to have my family there as much with my parents and my siblings and all that kind of stuff. And again, I was able to look up in the stands and see them in the stands. So it was very, very exciting. And always as a first, I think any first game every year, you have nerves because you're like, what is really going to happen here? What is this team really going to look like? How are we going to match up? All those kind of things. So definitely some nerves as well.
While as head coach at Truman, what were some of your biggest accomplishments?
Yeah. So we won the GOVC, which is the Great Lakes Valley Conference tournament my first year there, and went to the national tournament there. We went to the national tournament my last year there and had just a lot of, again, really good kids with it. So, I finished as the all-time winningest coach in Truman history when I left. And so, I think my time there was very, very, was very special. I think that's the best word to put it, is very special. And I had some special kids.
What was that transition like leaving your alma mater to go to Drury?
It was hard. It was hard. Drury was in Truman's conference. So I had coached against all those kids. I knew their strengths. I knew their weaknesses. It was a rivalry. I mean, you know how good the tradition Drury is and how how successful that program has been. So I think it was hard in regards to a lot of those things. I mean, anytime you leave as a coach, the relationships that you form with those kids, a lot of those kids, I mean, all those kids at Truman I had recruited, I had asked to come play there. So it's always hard. It's not easy. But I knew for my career and where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do, I knew it was the best opportunity for me.
While at Drury, what was that like taking them to 3 championships?
It was awesome. I mean, it was, you know, winning at that level and winning, I think a lot of people, they don't understand what goes into that, how much our kids did, how much our kids invested, how much they were in the gym, how much they had to deal with the pressure. There's so many things that go into being elite and doing that on an everyday basis. And so we were lucky that we had kids that were able and willing to be put in those situations every single day, because you have to do it every single day. Consistency is so important. And we definitely had that there. I mean, the atmosphere, at Drury, they play in front of sometimes the biggest crowds in the nation, right? You have the most fans there. And so the atmosphere was awesome. The people surrounding the program and the boosters were awesome. It was just a really big family atmosphere with some great support in order for our team to be successful. And you don't find that completely all the time on the women's side, especially. I think the women's game is definitely growing. And I think you're seeing a lot more of that, but you traditionally have not seen as much of that as you have on the men's side.
Coming from Drury, where you had championships, what was that transition like coming to Lindenwood?
Completely different. They hired me to rebuild this program. And we kept 3 kids from the previous team and brought in 12 new kids, and 9 of those are freshmen. We had the most freshmen in the country on our team. And I would say we're probably the youngest team in the country as well. Completely different mindset, completely different when you talk about the day-to-day operations of speaking with your kids and helping them, and practice plans, all of it. So we've really had to really have a lot of conversations about how we're going to handle different things, what it looks like, again, to build a program versus sustain a program. And it's just completely different, but it's a good thing. It's in a good way. It's not in a bad way. No matter if you're elite, no matter if you're building, you always have hard, you always have good. It doesn't matter. And so we're approaching it, it's a process that we're approaching every single day and working to get better at every single day.
What has that process been like, rebuilding the culture at Lindenwood?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing I think for us this year, is really setting the groundwork for who we want to be off the floor, in the classroom, in the community. What we want that to look like on a day-to-day basis, what we want our practices to look like, what we want our talk to look like, what we want the weight room to look like. It is, again, it's a process. And this year, obviously we want to win. We want to win, and we're not quite there yet. We haven't found ways to get that stop, score, stop type stuff when we need it. But we're working towards that, and we're right there in some of our games. But with a young group, it's a growing process, and we knew it was going to be like that. But I'm really, really proud of the kids that we have, the team that we have, and what they're doing and how they're working. And we're going to flip it. There's no doubt about that we're going to flip it. It's just going to take us a little time.
As a head coach, what was that feeling like stepping onto the Lindenwood court for the first time?
Yeah. Well, to me, it was a lot of familiar. We played the GLVC tournament there last year. Lindenwood used to be in the GLVC, so we'd come there and play. So I've been in that gym a lot. I've been on that court a lot. I've won a lot on that court. So it was a lot of familiar to me with stuff, which is good. That first game we played Tulsa, and Tulsa's really good. And I was a little bit nervous about what was going to happen having such a new group. But man, we played really, really well, and showed some signs of some things to come, and some bright spots, and then also found some things that we need to work on.
What have been some of the things that you've been able to accomplish so far at Lindenwood?
Yeah. So I would say, the first thing when you talk about accomplishing things is just setting that ground and that base for our program. I think we've definitely done that. I think we're doing it in the classroom with our kids, kind of like I mentioned. We had about a 3.3 team GPA. We're doing it in the community. We try to do at least a community service, at least one community service every month. So I think those are the accomplishments within the process that we're working on and that we're getting done. And again, I think that's really, really important with it. I think you talk about, if you talk about on the floor a little bit, we had Ellie Brueggemann, who is the OVC freshman of the week once. And so we've seen some fruits of the labor on the floor as well. But we still have a long ways to go in everything.
What does a typical game day look like for you as a head coach versus for your players?
So typically, like, it depends kind of if we're home or away, but if we're at home, like if they go have class, they go to class. We usually have a shoot around in the morning for about an hour where we'll come in and we'll go through, their stuff, how we're going to guard it. We'll get some shots up, those kind of things with it. Usually we'll eat pregame about 3 hours out, and then they'll be at the gym at least an hour and a half before the game starts with stuff. So it's a busy time. When we're on the road, for all of us, again, we usually have an early morning shoot around, then we have a pregame meal, and then usually you pack up a little bit and you go, with it. In between there, I mean, I'm sure our kids are taking naps. That's always important as a college athlete, is a nap. For us as coaches, we're looking at some of our offensive stuff again and what we can run against them. Maybe some defensive adjustments that we could possibly make throughout the game, and kind of setting the tone for all that.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
Yeah, so I would say, we've got a conference that's pretty Midwestern right here. It's a busing conference with us, so we don't have to get on planes and go places. I mean, we're pretty lucky with where we're located. I feel like we're almost a little bit centrally located to everything, but like, we played Western Illinois, who's 3 hours away, SIUE, who's right across the river from us. We've got Eastern Illinois, who's 2 hours away. We got Tennessee State, who's about 4 hours away in Nashville. We've got Arkansas Little Rock, who's about 4.5 hours away. We got SEMO, Southeast Missouri State, who's about an hour and a half, 2 hours away. So, and that's not all of them, but that's some of the teams. But everyone, again, it's within a driving distance, so I think that makes it pretty convenient for us.
What is that home game atmosphere like when teams like SIU comes to home versus going away to Tennessee Tech?
Yeah. So on December 31st, we had our first home conference game, and we had the biggest crowd in the women's game during the Division I era of about 1,500 people. It was like 1,491. So 1,500 people right around there. So it was awesome. I mean, it's great. I think as a player too, and as a coach, but as a player, like, you love to play in those atmospheres, right? And I think you're seeing the attendance of women's games increasing, especially at home games, like you said. You're really, really seeing that increase. We have probably more just family that travel on the road right now, but at home we have a lot of family, we have a lot of faculty, we have a lot of other student athletes at the games, and it's a great atmosphere to be in.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes? And as a head coach, what do you look at in those prospective student athletes?
Yeah. Well, recruiting's hard. I mean, it's a year-round process that never ever stops, never ever slows down. You're working on multiple classes at once as a coach. We look for a lot of different things. I mean, I think, if when we first initially watch kids, we're watching them to see how they fit our system. Can they play in our system? I mean, that's the first initial thing. And then if they can play in our system, then we get on the phone and find out more about their character, how they are in the classroom. Are they competitive? All those kind of things that we need to find out to make sure that on and off the floor they fit us.
What does that official visit look like when those prospective student athletes fall in love with Lindenwood's campus?
Yeah. I mean, so when I took over, we had 9 official visits probably within 2 weeks. because we had to get kids, here and that. And I think every single kid and every single parent, when they walked off, talked about how beautiful our campus is, and it really is. It's beautiful. We have a historic side that has just huge trees. It's just really pretty campus. It's easy to get around. It's pretty. You don't have to get on like shuttles and those kind of things to get from building to building, but it's not overly small with stuff either. So I think it's just a great size. We're located in St. Charles, Missouri, which is kind of a suburb of St. Louis, right across the river. We're 10 minutes from an international airport that's a huge. So we've got a lot of really good things going for us when you talk about, the recruiting process and that. So I think when families come and families visit, I think, we try to take them down to historic St. Charles, which is pretty special with brick roads, all that kind of stuff, wine and dine them a little bit. But I think it's easy to fall in love with this place.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen put on that uniform for Lindenwood for the first time and your seniors putting it on for the last time?
Yeah, man, it can be heart-wrenching a little bit when your seniors put it on. The big thing is hopefully you don't know it's the last game, right? And hopefully you don't know when your season's coming to an end with it. So that's the biggest thing. And, I think you always remember and think about all the great things that the kids did for you as seniors. We talk about leaving a legacy and what you want that legacy to look like. And, I think as a coach for me, when I look back at kids that played for me, I don't always remember how many points they scored or how many steals they got or rebounds they got. I talk more about the person that they were, the teammate that they were, what they brought to our program on a day-to-day basis. And that's what I challenge our kids to do, is leave that legacy. For first-time freshmen, man, that's all smiles. I'm sure they're nervous as can be, but it's all smiles for us. We're ready if we can to throw them out there in the fire. And I always say the best experience is game experience, and that's what our freshmen are getting a lot of this year. And so for them, I think it's a lot of nerves for them, but it's also, I think, shows all the hard work that they put in up until that point.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those players achieve those career highs, whether it's their first win, their first point,
Mhm.
or even their 1,000th score point?
Yeah, well, I think you celebrate all that, those things don't happen without hard work, and they don't happen without great teammates, and all those things that go into it. I think you celebrate those because you want multiple of those. You want multiple high games. You want multiple, players of the week, all those kind of things with it. So we really try to celebrate those things. We stay humble with it, but we try to celebrate and understand that what goes into making that happen, and that I've known for years, and at Drury here, whatever, like those things don't happen unless you win, right? The more you win, the more individual awards you get, and so winning is the end all. With in regards to if you want some more individual stuff, I think winning definitely helps with that.
As a coach and a former player, what is it like seeing those players go on and playing professionally after college?
It's neat. I mean, I still have one kid that I coached at Truman that she still goes overseas every year and plays and just loves it. Loves the travel, has met, I'm sure, a ton of people, has played in different leagues. It's neat to see that. It's neat to follow them. It's neat to see how much they continue to grow their game, because you forget that even when they leave here, they still have so much. We try to get everything out of their game, but they still have room for improvement. And a lot of them are able to continue to do that when they continue to play overseas.
What are some of your future plans at Lindenwood moving forward?
Well, we got a lot. I mean, we're just touching the base of what we want to be and how we want to do things here. And, I envision us turning this into a team that every year competes to win an OVC championship, that does it right on and off the floor, that has great kids in our program that we send on to either overseas or, WNBA type stuff. And so we're really, really working towards those things, and towards building a championship program.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college women's basketball?
day by day. you know, I think it's hard. It's so much change, whether it's change with the way you go to school, whether it's change with the demands that you have in basketball, it's change with, meeting new people and meeting new teammates and having to get comfortable with that. So I think just being patient, understanding that it's going to be hard, and be willing to handle that hard and manage that hard and grow from that hard. I think it's just so, so important. We talk a lot with our kids, with our freshmen too, just about being consistent. It's really hard to do as a freshman, but trying to be as consistent as you can in the person that you are and the player that you are, because consistency builds trust. And so I would just say, just as patient as you can, understand that it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. Make it till Christmas. And then after Christmas, I think you get a lot more comfortable.
What advice would you give those players looking to play in the WNBA or even overseas?
Yeah. I mean, you gotta work for it. I think anybody like that, your everyday process can't look similar to a lot of people, on the floor, off the floor, in the weight room, all those kind of things. I mean, you really, really have to invest, and you have to invest from a young age if you want to do those things. So you have to learn to be self-motivated. When you go overseas and play, you know, you don't have somebody there every single day that's making you go to the weight room. You don't have somebody there every single day that's putting you through individuals. You don't have those things. So you have to learn to work on your game and grow your game without somebody there telling you what to do every day. And, that's something we work on with our kids, is really teaching them and talking with them about being self-aware. How do you feel? How's your body feel? What are you good at on the floor? What do you need to add to your game? Being self-aware and really turning that into something, and not having it always have to come from a coach type stuff. So being efficient on your own, I think, is important. But it's hard for kids to do that, but by the time they're juniors and seniors, we really work towards that for them, so that they're able to do some of that.
What advice would you give those players looking to get into coaching after their playing career?
Man, it's coaching is a great, great career. I mean, it is a lot of work. You don't get a lot of holidays, you don't get a lot of time off. It is a lot of work, a lot of nights, a lot of evenings, a lot of days. But I don't think there's one day that I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sick because I have to go to work. I hate what I do. It's so fulfilling in regards to having the opportunity to impact so many lives. And so if you enjoy those things, and you enjoy not the same day to day every single day, I think it's a really, really good career.
What advice would you give those future head coaches out there that are looking to build their own program and build their own legacy?
Yeah, I think, talking to coaches that have done it, talking to coaches that can be mentors or colleagues with you during the process. I think that's really important because it's really hard. You have a lot more hard days than you do easy days, a lot of ups and a lot of downs and a lot of peaks and a lot of valleys. So, having a sound support system, I think, is really important. Being at the right school is also really important. Everybody knows that. Having the right administration, that's also really, really important, that understands what you're doing and that it's not an overnight thing, and that it's going to take a few years. But I think if you stay the course and you believe in what you're doing and how you're doing it, and you understand that it's a process, I think you're capable of doing anything.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you on social media along with the Lindenwood basketball program at?
Yeah, we're on Twitter. Mine is at Amy Eagan. And then ours is at Lindenwood WBB. So you can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. Same handles, or right around that, I think. I think our women's basketball has TikTok. I don't have TikTok, but I think social media is a great way to find us. And if you go onto our website, lindenwood.edu, and go to our athletics and then women's basketball, that information should be on there as well.
Thank you again, Coach Amy Eagan, for your interview, and best of luck in your future at Lindenwood as the head women's basketball coach.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Amy Eagan for your interview, and best luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.